as soon as I realized we could be vegetarian, I was on my cruise ship. I stopped eating meat like that, didn't eat it again. And I'm telling everyone, you got to go vegetarian. And everyone's like, I saw you with a plate of meat 2 days ago, like a tower of meat. I was like, nah, I've learned so much since 2 days ago. Like, I'm about to blow all your mind. I'm changing the speeches I was giving, the lectures on the cruise ship, starting including vegetarianism, like straight away. I was like, this is amazing.
All right, James, thanks so much for being with me today.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, there's so much I want to cover with you today. You are one passionate human being, and I really admire you greatly. I would love to start out with kind of your holistic health journey, starting with probably your diagnosis at the age of 17. Could you share that story with us?
Sure. Yeah. It's been a very long, twisted journey, but I was always interested in health from a young age. I started doing karate when I was about 7 and stayed with that right up until I got my black belt around 14. So I was already training and, aware of taking care of my body in that sort of physical fitness way. And then when I was 17, as you were saying, I was diagnosed with leukemia and lymphoma, and it was like very serious. Actually, they said I had about 6 weeks to live if I didn't start chemotherapy straight away. And I did. I went on chemotherapy. I had 3 years of that. 1 year quite intense, and then 2 years of maintenance, which was just once a week versus what I was doing before, which was in the hospital the whole time. And it was really interesting because, I'm in the hospital. I was eating like McDonald's in my hospital room while I'm basically dying of cancer, and having like a really bad time. And I was just eating so many foods that now I think about, I'm like, wow, it's amazing that it just really shows the lack of knowledge that the doctors I was under the care of had regarding nutrition. They're very skilled in what they do, but there's a huge component lacking in a lot of people about how important nutrition is and what healthy nutrition actually is. There's so much confusion. It's one of the most confusing things to people on earth, and it should be the most simple, and it can be. And it's just a really fascinating situation. But anyway,
can I interject
yeah,
for a moment?
please.
Yeah. No, I'm just curious. Like, I'm a Muay Thai practitioner myself, and so I know the discipline and the martial arts and the mindset component of martial arts. Did you find that any of that helped you as you were battling this disease?
Yeah, definitely. Because, after doing 7 years of karate and, there's so much, my sensei was a hard ass, and he really was a hard ass on me. Like, I was kind of his focus a lot of the time, which was great. But, there was a lot of tough times, and it hardened me I was like a soft kind of kid before, and it hardened me and made me stronger and made me develop certain qualities that I'm certain helped me through my time of cancer. I had a very positive outlook the whole time, and I never thought that, despite how close it got a few times, that it was actually going to be the end of me. And I just fought like I fought really hard at times, and I'm sure that played a part.
When they said 6 weeks, they literally told you probably had 6 weeks to live. What was that? What was that experience like for you?
It's super trippy because, I'd been back and forth with tests for ages, because I started with a little like lump under my neck that turned into 13 golf ball sized lumps, and then under my arms. And so I ended up in hospital because I'm not breathing well, because like I sleep and they're in the way of my breathing. And, I'm in there doing chin ups on the thing there and push ups. Like, I felt fine actually. And then after being there for about 5 days, on the 5th day, after doing some tests, taking one of the lymph nodes out, doing tests on it, they all came in, like a whole bunch of them at once. I was like, oh shit. And then they all told me, I was like, man. And my first thought, honestly, was, I'm so glad that I was using the excuse of these lumps to not do my homework. Because now I really, I'm so glad I didn't waste my time with that shit. Wow. And then I started thinking after that, okay, this is actually pretty intense. But I had so much support through that time. Like, it was crazy. There's a lot to talk about just on that alone, of like how the community got behind me, my school got behind me, and like it was an amazing time in a lot of ways. So yeah, there's so much good that came out of it. But
Wow.
and that's what you learn to do, like as you suffer through life. You know, everyone goes through this experience. You either wallow in pity or you find the good in the situation and use those lessons and whatever else. So.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
so few people have that, experience under their belt, and to really face death at that young of an age. I mean, gosh, I can only imagine how that's carried through for you, and how that's influenced everything that we're going to talk a lot about. So yeah, right. So okay, so you've got this diagnosis, you're going through chemo,
Okay.
you're eating Big Macs.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going through all that. I put on about like 22, 23 kilos, which is, I think that's close to like 40 pounds, something like that. I'm super fast, like blew up. I was always fit and healthy, strong before. And so then once I was able to start training again, which was something that my doctors allowed after I got the tube out of my chest and the tube out of my arm that had been there for like months and all this kind of thing. Like, okay, you can start exercising. I was dying because I did not feel like, I was like, who is this? I didn't recognize myself. I had these huge stretch marks on the side of my body. I still got them. They ripped and bled. Like that's how fast I put on all this huge amount of weight.
Wow.
All I was doing was eating. I couldn't sleep. I was on all these different medications, and yeah. So, right. So I went through this kind of thing. I was finally able to start training again. So I'm really training like twice a day, just super into it. There was a personal trainer there who I knew before that I did work experience with before I got sick. He sort of took me under his wing, really cool guy, and he inspired me to want to become a personal trainer. So then I went and did my personal training course while I'm on chemotherapy, just the maintenance stuff, but like still fairly visibly just going through some shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a lot through my personal training course, and I became a personal trainer for the next like 6, 7 years or something like that. And during that time, I was very lucky. It was a really excellent profession to get into, aside from being very lucrative and, it's a fun, good environment. I was in an excellent gym surrounded by a lot of professionals who've been in the health realm for a very long time. So I got a lot of different experience around me, a lot of different ideas and, things I've learned. And I was around some really, really interesting people. And through this, there was a lot of important lessons learned. One of the things I learned, actually, interestingly, that is, it's also, you've got to remember, like when you're learning these things from people, remember that humans are biased and not everyone is as wise as they think they are about things. And, I learned a lot of great stuff. But one of the things that I took on board was from a very spiritual guy who was the mentor of the personal trainers there. And he showed me a paper once that said there's no such thing as a healthy vegetarian. Mm. And I was like, cool, okay, good. That means I don't have to look into that. I love eating meat. I eat so much meat. I eat ribs for breakfast. I eat lamb for lunch. I eat steak for dinner, like every day. That was kind of how I was living, trying to get as much protein into me as I can. Mm-hmm. And as a respected person, showed me this thing, you can't be healthy as a vegetarian. I just went, well, I trust you. If you believe that, then I'll just believe that. Boom. And so as I said, I was a personal trainer for like 7 years. I was teaching people how to eat and how to train, and always kind of confused personally. I was always a little confused. Am I trying to tell you to eat diet yogurt or like, lean meat? This sort of seems a bit weird as well. It was actually just a very confusing process. I'm trying to dial people's diet in.
Yeah, I'm curious if the personal training certification that you took, did that include nutrition, or was that strictly physical fitness?
It included the same ridiculous nutrition guidelines, and it encouraged the same stuff that everyone gets, and that is really far off the mark. Right. Really far off the mark. So yeah, it was very basic level, and it was just, can you put a meal plan together? And it was all super, super basic and not accurate, a lot of it.
Yeah, I came myself from personal training as well. I was a personal trainer for a decade. So working in the fitness industry, just that protein culture is just, I mean, it's pervasive in all of society, right? But especially in the fitness, and that's literally, they're saying, pack your body with animal protein or you cannot reach your goals.
And beyond that, a lot of people, I would say, and I was definitely one of these people, don't think you can even survive long if you don't eat meat.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying with this article is like, there's no such thing as a healthy vegetarian. Most people think not only do you need a lot for fitness and health and strong, but even if you're not into that, you still need to eat meat. Otherwise, something's gonna happen. I don't know what it is, protein deficiency or something. Yeah, just to survive, just to get by. Like,
yeah, sure.
It's so bad, and it's really sad. It's really, really sad because there are so many people suffering horribly and dying so young and getting all these diseases and trying so hard to be healthy and doing the advice that they're told, and they're just simply getting terrible advice. So many people. This isn't like a small percentage of people we're talking about.
Right.
You know, like that's one thing to be like, 5% of people giving some really bad nutrition advice out there. But no, it's like the government's giving out horrible advice, and personal trainers are giving out horrible advice, and dietitians and nutritionists are giving out horrible advice. They're saying, eat this many eggs, eat this type of cheese. You can have these types of animal flesh. And it just doesn't make any sense. These are the things that are causing the diseases that people are dying from.
So why would you
include that in your diet? Last sentence. Why would you include that in your diet when you can have a diet without it that ensures as best you can through diet that you will live longer, reduce your chances of developing the top killers, and obviously then all the countless benefits besides the ones for yourself, for the planet, and for the earthlings we share this planet with.
So what was it that turned the corner for you? What because you'd taken on this belief because the so-called experts were telling you, and you said, okay, well, the experts are saying it must be true. I'm taking this on. Yeah. Then what?
Yeah, and then I ended up working on cruise ships in the health and fitness zone. I was giving lectures. I was learning from a whole new group of people now about people, just different professionals who were coming to teach us how to give the lectures and things like that. And that's when I started learning a little bit more about the pharmaceutical industry and, there's no money in sick people, and just getting new ideas in my head. I'm not saying I'm like totally against the pharmaceutical industry or anything, but I'm saying that there are a lot of medications out there that need not exist if people just got better educated about how to actually take care of themselves. And not only that, but didn't get bad information that is pushing them towards these medications. And I've suffered from this myself, even up until recently with painkillers. There's a whole nother story, and I wish we had time to talk about it actually, because it's really interesting. I'm just still processing it, but there's ways to heal that are good for you, and there's things that you can do that you think are going to help you heal that are going to keep you stuck in sickness.
Well, hold that thought. I really would like to come back to that, even if we run over a little bit.
Yeah, no worries. We can totally do that. I will do my best to verbalize the hell I've been going through in the last year or so.
Okay.
So anyway, all right. I work on a cruise ship. I'm meeting a lot of interesting people all the time because we're getting like 5,000 new passengers each week. And I meet this Indian man. He reminds me of Buddha, super wise, super chill, super cool. Always just saying all this enlightening stuff. And I'm just chilling with him as much as I can through his cruise. He's coming in and talking. He's an older man. And then one day he says, eating animals is bad karma. And then I give my typical arguments like, no, you need to eat animals to survive. I learned this ages ago. He said, I haven't eaten animals in 20 years or whatever it was. And so then I got intrigued. And it was also during a time where I was reading an amazing book called Healing with Whole Foods that the acupuncturist had lent me that was on the cruise ship. So I'm skimming through this massive encyclopedia-sized book, and it's going through all the diseases that humans commonly get. And it wasn't a vegan book. It wasn't a whole food plant-based book. But the answer to all these things was to eat this particular diet without animal products. And I was like, this is just weird. It's weird timing, and maybe I should try a little bit of an experiment. I'll go 7 days without eating meat. That's what I did. And then I felt good. I'm still in the gym. And I'm like, I don't feel any worse. I've been eating delicious food. I haven't really missed meat. I should keep this going. And during this week, I'm like, I hope I don't die during this week. I better start it. Like, I better make sure this is just possible for even a week. I don't know. Just so silly. And so then I get really like fascinated by this new way of living. And I was actually going through some pretty serious shit as well. I was like, I had problems from when I was sick, when I had cancer, and I told you I was eating so much food. I ended up developing a binge eating issue, which led to bulimia. And so on this cruise ship, I'm also searching for something that's going to help me with that, like anything, because I was actually really desperate at the time. I was like binging and purging, not wanting to, struggling just in this like bad cycle of can't resist the craving to continue eating. There was no satisfying And it was, so I'm like, vegetarianism author might help that. So I'm reading it, and I'm learning more and more. And then, and I'm getting really excited because I'm learning not only is this doable, but this is actually probably a healthier lifestyle for me. And I'm a personal trainer. This is probably a healthier lifestyle to promote to my clients. Amazing. How good is this? I'm so glad after all these years I've finally come onto this. You know, I feel like I've really uncovered an amazing secret here. If all what I'm reading is true, which it seems very convincing, so I'm reading it from here and from here and from there. I am so happy right now. I can live without meat if it means I'm going to live a much better quality of life. And that's when I, through all this research, start stumbling onto other people's reasons for being vegetarian. And the major reason for people not eating meat, for a lot of people at least, is not wanting to contribute to the horrific violence that animals are subjected to before, you know, in order for them to become products. And so, yeah, I started watching some of the documentaries like The Earthlings on how animals are slaughtered for meat, dairy, eggs, leather, medical testing, just everything, all the ways that they're exploited. And it just blew my mind that, you know, I've ran with the bulls in Spain. I've eaten meat my whole life. I've gone fishing and not thought anything of it. And then I just started thinking of it all differently. Like, whoa, what was I doing? Like, why was I putting hooks through these poor animals' faces? Why was I running with these tormented bulls that later got cut up to death in front of a roaring crowd? Like, what the hell is going on? This world is so weird. And I was just asleep to it before. And then I realized that vegan made sense. Being vegan made sense because being vegetarian is just cutting out one type of animal cruelty that you commonly contribute to. But being vegan is living in a way that cuts it out as far as practically possible. And it's just a few more additions: is eggs and dairy, and not running with bulls, you know, not going to a bullfight, not going to horse racing, trying to get products that aren't tested on animals. And like, basically that's it. You know, you don't wear leather, you wear a different material, vegan leather or something else. And that's pretty much it. Like, there's not that many things on the list.
Did you find an answer to that question of why? Like, and how did that, what was the shift, you know, like, because
oh mate,
you, right?
The why.
Did you
why
figure out the why?
Such a big question. Like, I mean, I'm still thinking about the why every single day, because like, it's really, really tricky. It's you know, I bounce back and forth between just, you know, humans are animals. We're smart and we're not smart at the same time. We do really amazing things and we do really, really stupid things. And we just have been doing things so long, and we are in some bad habits, and habits are hard to break, and people struggle with change. And it took 400 years for them to abolish human slavery in the USA, and that's a long time. And they were human beings, and people still couldn't see how wrong it was that they were doing what they were doing. So yeah, it's going to take a while for humans to figure it out with non-human earthlings as well, even though they're basically the same. They just look different on the outside. I bounced from that, this like very practical understanding of the slow evolution of humanity, to this is very deliberate. Why are they trying to keep people sick? Why are they trying to keep this very low, violent, cruel energy on this earth? Why is this so huge? Why are there so many lies about what good nutrition is? Why are there so many lies about what happens in the industries? Why is it all greenwashed with humane slaughter and free range and all this? Then I go to this whole, this is so corrupt, this is so sadistic, this is so evil side. You know, so I bounce back and forth.
Yeah. Do you think, and I one thing I think about sometimes is when, you know, and I was 7 when I kind of made that connection. I think, you know, before a lot of the programming of society had really set in, and I kind of figured out what was on my plate. And I said, that's an actual chicken on my plate. And in my child mind, I said, well, why in the world would I eat that? Like, it just didn't make sense. And I think maybe I was an animal in my past life, and who knows why that was the case. But one thing I think about is, do you think it helped to first see the benefits for you, like from a health standpoint, and then you were already on this path of, and kind of let some defenses down of I'm not going to make myself wrong, you know, because you were already on that path and you could kind of open your eyes a little bit to those blind spots? Do you think that could be part of it?
Ella, I think what you just said is just so important and so 100% true. Like, you called it completely. I had a massive defense down because I was already doing it. So I knew I could do it and I was kind of enjoying it.
Right.
And, I was like, this is a possibility for me. Where most people, they will fight you on this issue, even though they probably agree with what you're saying, but something in them is like, if I don't fight, but then I don't change, I'm going to look like a really bad person. And I just don't know if I can change. Change is hard. I try changing things all the time in my life and it doesn't work.
Yes.
So is it better to fail in this way? And like, how could I fail in this way? If I try, I should really do it. Is it better to fail, or is it better to pretend I don't get it and fight against it and use whatever little thing I can hold on to give me this excuse, despite how weak that I can't do that, or I don't agree with that, you know?
Yeah.
You're so right, mate. You're so right. And I thought about that a lot. And I think it's a really important thing to remember that I actually often forget. Health is such a huge thing for people. I did not think you could be healthy doing it. And I was in the fitness and health industry for so long trying to learn about nutrition. The common people, like, I'm in conversations today about it, reading about people who are like, this is just a necessary nutrient for humans. And I'm like, wow, people really still, or another guy who was saying, don't act like dairy isn't healthy. And I'm like, mate, they got you good. You're still in there, believing all this crap. That's the world we for sure live in. And what you said about the animals, you saw a bird on the plate. That's so cool. You were 7, you're probably into animals and that. I never really was. I was told at a young age, animals are kind of just like intelligent plants. It was just described to me in this way that I was like, oh, they're kind of just nothing. Okay, cool. I never had any affinity with animals. And it was only after going vegan because I understood, okay, look, I don't really care about animals, but I can see their suffering. I'm looking at this slaughter. There's someone there who is getting their throat cut open and they're not enjoying it. This is all pretty obvious. Like, despite I maybe don't think they're as evolved as humans or intelligent as humans or whatever, but I don't want to be the reason that happens to them. So, and it was only later, and this is one of the biggest revelations in my life. It was only later that I realized humans are animals, and animals are people. They have their own heart, their own brain. They experience life in a basically identical way that we do. I hang out with my cats all day long. They get tired, they yawn. They get hungry, they're like, meow, meow. They're talking to you. Like, they're people in just a little different body, Like, they're sleeping, they like getting touched. They respond to stimuli as we respond to stimuli. They have memories, they know their names, they like everything. How much more similar could a being be to you? It's like identical. But people don't even see it. They see cows and they see especially chickens and especially fish, which is so beautiful. I live on the ocean, I snorkel, I see them, they're incredible. They're so bright, vibrant. They get scared, they get curious. They're people too. And yet people they don't even have feelings. And this is like a common belief. Fish don't have feelings. It doesn't matter. Of course, hooking them through their face doesn't matter. And that's where it's like, come on, this is so illogical that this must have been taught to you, like brainwashed you to think this. Because you never just sort of grew up and saw fish and thought that sounds likely. It's what we're told that gives us our perspective of reality. And we've been told a lot of crap.
Yes, that's for sure. So you kind of saw the light, you started seeing the world and seeing animals in this different way. Your heart's opening, you're getting emotional about this, you're starting to get angry, you've got, I'm sure tons of different emotions. What came next for you, and at what point did you realize that this was something that you needed to share with the world?
Well, straight away, as soon as I realized we could be vegetarian, I was on my cruise ship. I stopped eating meat like that. Didn't eat it again. And I'm telling everyone, you got to go vegetarian. And everyone's like, I saw you with a plate of meat 2 days ago, like a tower of meat. I was like, nah, I've learned so much since 2 days ago. Like, I'm about to blow all your mind. I'm changing the speeches I was giving, the lectures on the cruise ship, starting including vegetarianism, like straight away. I was like, this is amazing. Everyone needs to know this. I can't believe I've just figured this out. And that other people don't know this. Wow. And but then, then when the animal side of things got involved, and I saw the just massive scale of cruelty, and soon after getting off the cruise ship, I was still vegetarian. I was still preaching, go vegetarian to my fam. Then I did a Vipassana course, which is another thing. The Indian man who said eating animals is bad karma. He started talking about meditation. I'd always heard about this course where you meditate 10 hours a day for 10 days. You don't speak, you're just there, you meditate. And I did that. And someday there, I started thinking about how long could you not speak for? I considered maybe, imagine if I did a year, like, imagine doing a year, that'd be so trippy, whatever. And then I thought, actually, that is a interesting idea, because maybe I could use that in a way to raise awareness for something I care about. And this was a brand new issue for me, as of a few months or whatever, but it was already, I could see it was so important. And
okay,
so
wait,
I came out
time out.
yeah. Okay,
10,
ahead, yeah.
10 hours a day for 10 days. Was this your first like
Yeah.
introduction into meditation? Like, or had you already
No,
been meditating?
so this was when I was 24. I'd already done a fair bit of meditation,
Okay.
but mostly mostly like listening to the I don't know if you know what holosync is. It's sort of like chimes, and
Yeah.
it's just like supposed to put your brain in some beta or alpha or whatever waves. It's just like trippy tunes. And I would meditate to that a lot. Like I was really into it. I started doing that when I was 17 when I had cancer. But I'd never done to sit without music, without anything, and not really had I done that. But it was interesting because I used to read a lot of spiritual books around these years, and you could summarize pretty much all of them with the word meditate. I always felt that this book just basically told me that the whole book was just like, so meditate, and then so was this one, and so I was always, looking forward to kind of doing this thing that one of my friends, who's a very amazing woman, told me about. She would do this course one day. She came straight from it to my place one time, and she was glowing. I'm like, oh, whatever made you look like this, I'm gonna have to do that one day.
And
So
what's
I
that
ended up,
like? Yeah, what's that like doing 10
yeah.
hours a
Well,
day? I've
I've
never done
actually,
that.
no, I've done 9 of them now. I've
Wow.
done 9 of these 10-day courses now. So they're all very different, but basically you're learning a very powerful technique of meditation. It's an insight meditation. It's said to be the gift from the Buddha. This is what he taught people. This was his main teaching. He said a lot of things, but the core of what he gifted the world was a 2-part meditation, which is observation of your physical sensations while remaining equanimous, which is basically at peace. So you're not concerned with your thoughts, you're not concerned with the external, you're keeping a consciousness and observation happening of the physical sensations of your body, the pressure, the tingling, the pain, the itching, the vibrating, whatever. You stay with that sensation, and you find peace with all that. And as you do that, different things come up from your past, and you have the opportunity to either resist and push it back down, or to observe, feel the sensation, no matter how painful it is, and it can be excruciatingly painful. You'd be shocked how much you can go through just sitting there for an hour, and then another hour, and then another hour. And basically, it's an incredible course. I would highly recommend everybody do it. I've always said that veganism is for us, but mainly it's to end the animal holocaust of trillions of sentient beings every single year. That's the best reason to be vegan. And Vipassana meditation is like a gift to ourselves. It teaches you how to suffer less and how to go through life in a better way. Really, really amazing technique. And most people who go for the 10 days, even if they've never meditated before, they finish the course, and they finish the course feeling like they left 2 suitcases of garbage behind, with a technique that they can now have and continue to master for the rest of their life. You know how to work, you just have to do the work. So it's phenomenal. It's I've had some of my best I go to this Vipassana, and I had the idea to do the vow of silence. And I started studying more, realizing there were so many more reasons I even realized initially above health, as well as health and the ethics. There's the environmental issues, there's the world hunger issues, there's so much climate related issues with the current animal agriculture and how much better things could be with plant based. There's just everything pointing to this. Everything is covered. Everything. It's like this is such a good reason to not talk for a year. Like if I'm I should do something cool with my life, and here's an idea. So I'm just going to go for it. And I decided planning it just as if I'm going to do it, but still not kind of sure. And a lot of people, my homies and my mum and dad, they're like, we don't know if we should do this. This is a bit extreme, you know. And I was like, no, it's going to be chill. It's going to be chill. And yeah, I ended up doing a year later to the day. So I started my Vipassana 1st of January 2013, I think it was. And then I planned that year. I became vegan, studied animal rights literature and the arguments and everything like that. January 1st, 2014, I started my vow of silence. I traveled around Australia, doing a whole bunch of stuff, you know, like just continuing my learning, writing a blog. I went to a lot of factory farms. We did a lot of rescues. We documented a lot of stuff. And I ended up cycling across Australia, 5,000 kilometers. Once my van broke down, I thought, oh, well, here's a good opportunity to prove to people you can be healthy and strong on a plant-based diet. So I'm like traveling across Australia, just showing people I'm eating my oats and you know, like going to this random little petrol station where I'm getting rice and vegetables and some beans or something and just making it work. Yeah. And then I got back and I hadn't spoke for a year. I spoke for the first time on a TV show. And that interview, just before the interview, the day before the interview, that was my third Vipassana course at that time. And in that course, I really focused on what do I want to say when I speak for the first time after a year. So my first words were on this show. I had a vegan message prepared, and that was seen by millions and millions of people. A lot of people found inspiration in those words and thought about the world differently. And from then, I just started giving speeches wherever I was invited. And yeah, like a lot's happened since then. That was like 2015. Yeah. So
had you planned out what you were going to say? When
I planned it word for word what I was going to say. Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember?
I do. I said, so they said to me, they're just sitting there. I don't think they really knew how to interact with me. I'm wearing a shirt that says earthlings.com. I said, okay, James, so you haven't spoke for a year. What did he say? He goes, what are your first words going to be? And at the time, I'd sort of like developed my own sign language thing. So I just mouthed to him, I want you to ask me why. And he understood. He goes, okay, James, why did you do this? So my first words, I said, thank you for asking. The reason I took this vow of silence was to raise awareness for the voiceless victims of this planet, the animals. We all say we love animals and we are against animal cruelty, yet we pay people to mutilate and torture and slaughter animals. And it's not for any necessity. It's not because we need to for our health. It's because we like the way they taste. So I went voiceless because they're voiceless, I thought. But then I realized they're not actually voiceless. They cry in pain. They scream in terror. And when they do that, they're telling us that they're suffering. But the problem is we're not listening because they're covered in feathers or scales or wings or fur. So we don't take their suffering seriously. I also took this vow of silence to teach people about my lifestyle. I'm a vegan. That means I don't consume any animal products. I don't support any animal exploitation. And I wanted to show people through my journey how easy that is, how healthy that is. And that is an excellent way to live your life.
Mm.
And yeah, that's what I said. And then they were like, how does it feel to be speaking? That's what they responded to my 10 days of meditation speech. And I was expecting to get into a little debate. So it's like, how does it feel to be speaking? I go, I don't know. I just started. It feels a bit weird. I sound weird.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was cool. But it kicked off a big thing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It gave me the opportunity to start doing speeches about the journey. And then I had more videos. One of my speeches reached over 10 million people as well. It inspired a lot of people to go vegan. And that's the thing, this message, it's very simple. It's very practical. Kids can understand it. They do, It's
I think
just
they
about
understand it
getting
better.
A lot of the time they do.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Less years conditioned, but it's a very simple message. And really, the question isn't, are vegans right? We're 100% right. It's obvious we're right. There's millions of vegans around the world. We're all perfectly happy and healthy. almost every vegan will tell you that being vegan is the best thing they've ever done in their life. We're eating incredible, amazing, delicious food. We even have vegan alternatives to all animal products, from food, meat, milk, eggs, to the clothing. Like, we got it all. This is a day and age where being vegan has never been easier. And it really just comes down to, are you willing to give it a try? Are you willing to just see what we're talking about? Why are you willing to watch what happens to the animals? A lot of people aren't. I'm like, you wouldn't be arguing with me if you'd seen this documentary, Earthlings or Dominion. You wouldn't argue with me, but you won't watch it, will you? Oh no, I don't like looking at things like that. Okay, but you like putting it in your mouth. You like paying people to do that to animals. That doesn't seem like a bit hypocritical. Like in a very, very serious issue that's causing horrific suffering of real victims. I like how they taste. I like how they taste. It's like, okay, like, what do I say to this person? You are either ready or not. And it being ready, you can see my own journey. It took many, many years. Some people will never get it, and some people will see a chicken on their plate and be like, wait a minute, that's an actual bird. I love birds. I always look at birds when they're flying and I think, oh, they make me so happy. And this bird got their head cut off so that I can eat them when I could have just eaten something else. This is crazy. But like, you just really can't pick it with people. People will surprise you. And so that's the thing. Like, it's got to be, being a vegan in this world, ooh, you got to be patient. Or at least, some people, it helps to really develop a big level of patience and understanding with people, because you get real disappointed otherwise.
I'd like to talk with you about that a little bit. I have a feeling, maybe subconsciously, a lot of people, put up this wall, not allowing those emotions to be felt, not allowing, and we have to do it. I'm sure you too. I have to do it on a daily basis, or else I would go completely insane, knowing what somebody's eating beside me, right? I have to put up some sort of a wall. So people put up that wall because it is so hard to deal with that, the pain of really knowing and connecting with the suffering of trillions and murder of trillions of animals every year. How do you, James, how do you deal with that? How do you go on being a joyful human being? How do you go on experiencing pleasure in your life, and so that you can be a light and help inspire other people? Because we can't do that if we're angry and mean, and you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, and I know from experience, because I've been totally on both sides of this range of feelings. For many years, I was very centered in my forgive them for they know not what they do, don't blame and shame, inform and explain, hate the sin, love the sinner. I was very firm at that. That was a big part of my teaching to vegans in my speeches. Guys, advocate like this. And I say, like, almost around a couple of years ago or something, because I've been a reasonable amount of followers online. I've got a lot of people looking up to me as an activist by this point. And so, I'm taking this responsibility seriously. And the more I'm vegan and the more slaughterhouses I go inside and the more debates I get into, the more passionate I get. And the more, like, passionate, I don't even know if it's the right word. It's more just like serious about it. This is a serious issue, like, so more, I don't know, something like that. I got to a point after being that other way where I was like, I actually don't feel like it's right for me to stay so peaceful with people right now. I need to show another side, because there is another side inside of me that is extremely frustrated and extremely disappointed and just shocked at everybody that, like, just shocked. Just what are my friends and family who are not vegan still? What is their deal? What are they doing? Like, I started just not being able to relate to that anymore. It had been so many years that I've been vegan, and I know they've been seeing all my stuff. I started really sort of struggling with that. Like, at what point are you just not a good person? And I just got to that point where I was like, right, I just need to just tell everyone exactly how I feel. And I was extremely honest. Before, I was a lot more chill and always honest about the reality, but this is more directed at people who knew better and weren't doing better. And I don't regret it. It was an important part of my journey, and it actually did, give some people the push they needed. But it's a numbers game, and overall, I was also pushing people away from me and my message. I was, certain people that were at the right time where they needed to hear something like that, but other people that were hearing me speak in that way, and they were like just not relating, not feeling encouraged, not feeling welcomed, not feeling like they were given a chance. There's all types of people paying attention. And I think that what I learned, first of all, is that was a really unhealthy mindset for me to have. People are doing their best. They're doing their best. It's hard to. People are busy. They got so much going on. They got their kids. They got their mortgage. They got their job. They got their stresses. They got their pains. They got their this and that. Like, people have got a lot going on, and the world can be a very intense place. So that's not an excuse, but I'm just saying, like, it's good to. The best way I think is still to just remain encouraging and inspiring and trying to help people and be people's friend rather than sort of shaming them into like guilting them into doing this. Um, Finding out where are their sticking points. Why are you not vegan? Like, oh, I don't really have any recipes. Okay, so you help with recipes. Or I've seen too many things of people saying it's not healthy. So you try to convince them in that way. Find out where people are at. Try to get them to the next step, and like that's just the process. There's a lot of hurdles people need to get through in their mind. There's a lot of conditioning that needs to be cut through. What am I going to eat? Will I like the food? Can I afford the food? What is vegan food? What recipes will I make? Will the kids like it? Will I feel good on this? Is it going to be good for my digestion? I'm an athlete. Will I be? There's just so many things, and so it takes time to get through all that. But ultimately, I think that it's a much healthier mindset for the activists as well. I think it's really important that the people doing things in all different ways. So as I said, I don't regret it, and it had its effect. But overall, this is a marathon, not a sprint. The world ain't going vegan next week, unfortunately. It's going to take time, and so probably your best bet for your own mental health and to inspire the most amount of vegans is to be this positive, encouraging, welcoming source of education and inspiration, and try to be really consistent with that, and try to just sort of be everyone's friend and make people feel comfortable with you and not judged by you. And that's I had a lot of success like that before. I had less success with the angry vegan approach, and now I'm moving back to what worked better for me at least.
I really appreciate you and your evolution and your willingness to. It's like this balance, and I really get it on a personal level of being like, I'm going to speak my truth. This isn't about me, though. This is about the animals. So how do I speak my truth and do the best good for animals while still being authentic and giving people what they need and a little bit of what they want, and meeting people with where they are, but realizing the seriousness of the situation and the suffering. Like there's so much, and I don't think there's any right answers. And the fact is, you've really gone through your life doing the very best you could to fulfill a mission, to fulfill a purpose. What would you say your purpose is, if you had to kind of put it into words here in this lifetime now?
Well, first of all, I think that everything you said is spot on. Just there, like it is a dance. Everybody's different how you approach each person, and it's not a cookie cutter. You say this and you say this and you say this. Different people are going to be different places, need different messages. So yeah, it's good to remember that as well. In terms of my purpose, I would say that I am here to be an instrument of truth and peace and love and respect. And I want to ultimately help end the animal holocaust. I want to close slaughterhouses. I want the animal slavery to become illegal. I want people to realize, not just change to vegan meat, I want them to realize what we have done. Not just everybody eats vegan meat now because it's more environmentally friendly. No, we should acknowledge the horrors that we've inflicted upon other sentient beings and realize their personhood, and they should be given rights. So, this is extremely important for me. As somebody who knows what's going on, Einstein said those who have the what is it? those who have the benefit of knowing have the duty to act. Something like that is said.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel very much called to, I wouldn't feel, I tried to go back to personal training after my bout of science. I thought I'll just do 1 year, help animals, then back to where I can reps with people, help people get a bit fit. And I tried, and at I was with one-on-one session, and I'm looking at my phone, and it's beep, 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 with all these responses from debates I'm in about veganism. And I just realized, like, how can this is so important. Animals need every voice they can get. I know that I can help them, and I know I'm far from the perfect person and a perfect activist. But if it doesn't matter, whatever, we can all do something. And I just tried to use my personal skills that I had and point them in the direction of animal rights. Like, I'm a speaker, I'm a communicator, I've been a personal trainer for so long, I can help inspire people to do this. But try to get me to put on a vegan festival or something, like something with some organization and all that, I'm going to be shocking. So someone else does that, and then someone else creates the websites, and someone else creates the beauty product, and someone else does the vegan meat technology, and everyone just puts their heads together, and we can and are making a huge shift in this world.
That's amazing. I want to circle this all the way back to holistic health in a moment, but before we do, kind of last on this topic, could you talk a little bit? I think people will hear, a lot of the people listening may be new to your messaging, new to meeting you. Could you explain your use of the word Holocaust for those people?
Oh yeah, I should. You're right, because for me it's a very normal way of describing this, because I've thought about this for many years, and this is just the most accurate language to describe the current situation. But yeah, I will absolutely do that. It's the same reason why I use the word enslavement or slavery. It is what it is. A Holocaust is a mass murder of innocent beings. And there is no larger Holocaust than the animal Holocaust. Some people think you shouldn't use the term Holocaust because of World War II. And people think of the Holocaust, what happened there. But there have been many Holocausts in the past. There have been many Holocausts since. And there's a current Holocaust that's been happening through all of them. The one that kills the most, the one that is legal, the one that almost every single person is paying for to happen, the one where they literally eat the body parts of the Holocaust victims. So it's interesting. I know people will say, oh, they'll watch this whole thing and they'll say, he called it a Holocaust. And they'll just get caught on that, and that guy's crazy, right? So I always find that shocking. It happens all the time. Oh, something to grab onto. He said Holocaust, he must be a crazy vegan. When it's the most accurate definition. And a lot of people, a lot of Jewish people have written about this, different scholars and poets and different people, activists, who have also described this as the animal Holocaust. I didn't just make it up. But it's always interesting when people are so outraged by that word being used, but not outraged by the gas chambers used in order for people to eat bacon. The animals are forced into gas chambers and they suffocate to death in carbon dioxide. Their body burns from the inside out. Their eyes burn. They burn on the inside, and then they're thrashing and screaming against the bars, smashing their heads. You've never seen suffering like it. And then they eat that and they say, oh, you shouldn't call it a Holocaust. Oh, well, what about the gas chambers? That's pretty similar, right? They tattoo them, they herd them up, they separate families, they put them through the line, and they gas them to death. There's an amazing book actually on the comparisons. If anyone's interested in this topic, it's called Eternal Treblinka by Charles Patterson. And it talks about how Hitler actually got many ideas of how to run the death camps from slaughterhouses, the production line and things like that. There's many parallels, easy to research. But it's a word, guys. If you're not comfortable calling it a Holocaust for whatever reason, because a lot of people think, oh, you're saying that Jews are like pigs or something like that. No, we're not. Jews are like Australians, are like Africans, are like, we're all humans, right? But what we're saying is pigs are a lot more like humans than you guys probably give them credit for. You think they're nothing. You think they're shit. You think they're garbage idiots. And no, they are sentient beings, intelligent beings, conscious, feeling beings. We're elevating their status because you guys have it in a very bad level, to the point where you're willing to breathe them into existence in a horrific life, multiple cruelties and abuses and rights violations, and then force them into gas chambers just so you can have a tasty snack. You need to elevate how you see animals, and that's what we're trying to do here. Just be honest about the reality of what is happening to them and who it is happening to.
Thank you for that. I just got back from our sanctuary we call Hogs and Kisses farm sanctuary, where we have rescued farm pigs, and to see a 700-pound big pig go down for a belly rub like any dog, and it's it's
that's cute.
Thank you for explaining that.
I had a really funny guy once. I've been in thousands of internet debates. I debated the most ridiculous people. I spent wasting so much time. But anyway, one of them was really funny. He said, I'll go vegan when a cow can play fetch like a dog, thinking that's totally impossible. Cows aren't like dogs. And you're trying to make this argument that dogs are heaps better. That's why we don't eat dogs, but cows are stupid. And it took 2 seconds of Googling to find this cow like jumping around after this big volleyball, big beach volleyball, and bringing it back and then throwing it again and playing fetch. I'm like, welcome to the club, mate.
Did he follow through? Did you get to see him through that?
I doubt it.
Yeah. That's pretty funny though.
But it was still funny.
That's funny. Okay, well let's talk about you now. Let's kind of full circle this back to your health. What do you eat on a typical day? What are you exercising? And then if you want to share your story, it sounds like a story of resilience around the painkillers. And would love to hear about your relationship with food too now, since you had that, because a lot of my audience comes from a disordered eating disorder background as well.
Okay. Very interesting. Well, I'd love to talk about that. Firstly, one of the best things I ever did to help me with my eating disorder was to read a book called End Emotional Eating by Dr. Jennifer Tate. It is a book that helps teach you to sit with the feelings of cravings, or when you've eaten and you think, I want to eat just a bit more. You sit with that feeling. It teaches you how to. It's using cognitive behavior therapy, which is very similar to Vipassana meditation, actually, teaching you that these cravings will come and they will go. So don't be afraid if you're craving and you want more, that you're just going to feel this way until you eat. Actually, what you will learn through this process of cognitive behavior therapy is that you can sit there with it, and it might be uncomfortable for a while, but soon you'll find more comfort, and it won't bother you anymore. And that's how you can beat these addictions and these cravings. And you can do that with cigarette smoking or whatever. That was the first best thing I did. And then the day I went vegan was the day that I said, it was also the day that I started my vow of silence. And it was also the day that I said, I will never binge and purge again. So I was already getting better. I was doing it less, but I was still kind of doing it. And I was like, I need to just say, no more. This is never good. Just stop this shit. What are you doing? You want to live like this? I already know where this path is taking me, and it hasn't been good. So, because I was doing it because I just wanted, I couldn't stop eating. It was a food addiction thing. It wasn't like, I feel a bit fat, and like, it wasn't that for me. It was, I was compulsively eating, just chronic binge eater. And then I feel so full that I needed to vomit. And if I vomited, then I could eat more. And it was a wild mental space to be in. So that helped me a lot, that book. I highly recommend everyone read those. Got exercises after each chapter. What happened was that day that I said, I'm not going to ever do this again. I'm not going to binge and throw up my food again. About 2 weeks into my starting to travel around Australia, voiceless, I binged and I ate a tub of So Good ice cream, the soy ice cream, with most of a jar of peanut butter. And that's a really easy thing to vomit back up again. Some foods are not so easy. This is a very easy one. So I could have eaten this whole thing and just, get rid of it, But I thought, no, that's exactly what I said I'm not going to do. I made a vow to myself. So too bad. Now you have to sit with how uncomfortable you're going to be with a stomach full of ice cream and peanut butter. I was sitting there, I was like, man, I'm so uncomfortable. Oh God, why did I do that to myself? This is so bad. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, okay, I'm happy. I'm not happy how much I ate. That was stupid, but I didn't binge and purge. Go me. And then sometime later, I binged again. And during my binge, I'm like, oh man, I'm going to have to sit with this and I'm going to feel really shit. Maybe I'll just have a little bit less than I would have had I not had this thought. And over time, I just started getting more in tune with, am I hungry? Should I eat? How much have I eaten today? Do I really need to eat that? And it was amazing because for so long I had struggled. And over time, also, I was vegan, so I'm eating better foods. Like I'm eating fruit. I never used to eat fruit. It was like, no, don't eat fruit. It'll make me put on weight and it's not healthy, too much sugar. I'm eating now the best fuel for my body. Fruits, so nutritious, so delicious in its raw, natural form. It's so designed for humans to digest. It's excellent. And it gives you that sweet, enjoyable, pleasurable feeling eating something like a mango or a banana smoothie or something like that, like grapes. It's all so delicious. And so that being able to eat these foods, I didn't really care if I ate ice cream anymore. I was having smoothie bowls, blended bananas, blended frozen bananas with blended blueberries, with some crushed cashews and some granola and like all this amazing stuff. Why would I want ice cream? Vegan food, you at least for the sweet tooth side of things, in just this way, you are really satisfying that in a very healthy, enjoyable way. So that started happening, and I started eating more starch, like potatoes and oats and things that I also used to think too high in carbs. I won't eat that. And after going around the world a lot and speaking at a lot of lectures, I had the privilege to be speaking at a lot of lectures, conferences, and things like that, while some of the best health professionals, nutritionists, and doctors who promote plant-based diet were speaking. So I got to hear certain messages over and over and over again. And then for the first time in my life, finally I understood how to eat, what the human body is designed to use for fuel, which was a long process, especially being interested in health for decades by this point. It's like so many years teaching people eat this amount of steak, eat this amount of chicken, and it took a long time to realize a whole food plant-based diet is it, and then how to make that enjoyable. What does that mean? What foods will I eat? So often for breakfast, I will have a big bowl of oats with some cacao, so it's chocolatey. I put a big thing of peanut butter. I'll probably chop some strawberries in there. I'll put some granola on top for something crunchy, something chewy in there, like dried cranberries, maybe some protein powder if I'm doing weightlifting at the time, just like a meat eater would, but using a pea protein or a soy protein or something like that. And this is a very affordable meal. It's extremely cheap. Oats are one of the cheapest foods. Very delicious. It's like having a big bowl of dessert, really. And very long-lasting energy. Just an excellent start to your day. Then also I'll be having smoothie bowls, a bunch of blended fruit. I'll put my greens in there, like a huge amount of kale. You can't even taste it. This is one of the most important things we can eat, dark leafy greens. You put it in a smoothie, you still just feel like you're eating a bowl of ice cream, basically. But it's got none of the dairy, it's got none of the saturated fat, none of the cholesterol, none of the animal protein, far healthier. Then maybe I'll have like scrambled tofu on toast, for example. So I might put a bit of avocado down, scrambled tofu, just get a block of tofu, crush it in your hands, put some herbs and spices, whatever, mix it up. Even if we did a salt and pepper and like a bit of turmeric or something, that'll be delicious. Put that on top, very high in protein and lots of different nutrients. It's a complete protein as well. Put that on your toast, you can have that. You have beans on toast, avocado on toast. I don't know, there's like a million things. And throughout the day, we're in Bali, so we get to eat a lot of tofu and tempeh. We have tofu or tempeh curries. We have big burritos with black beans and rice and guacamole and tomato and onion and stuff.
You're making me hungry.
So much. I mean, we have a great variety, and in Bali, it's crazy how much vegan food is here. Yeah. So you can have it all. Like we have vegan pizzas across the road from our place, and there's amazing vegan pastas, and just basically any food you can think of can be made vegan. You can just substitute the meat for tofu or for actual vegan meat if you're somewhere where it exists, which most people are these days. Textured vegetable protein, it's like a dry type of soy. It looks like crumbles or bigger chunks. Extremely high in protein, extremely low in fat, very, very meaty. You can season it how you like. Add that to your spaghetti. You can have bags of it in the cupboard waiting for you. That's what you use for meat now. It's way cheaper, stores for ages, don't have to worry about cross-contamination. Boom. It takes you 2 seconds to learn how to cook that stuff up. And then you know forever. And yeah, so I ate yeah, so much stuff. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, there's
Everything,
endless.
everything.
Endless.
Exactly. That's why I don't want to talk too much. But I think people are confused. They think vegan food. Oh, so I'm gonna eat just I don't know what I'm gonna eat. I guess I'm just gonna eat lettuce and salads and carrots, and people got no idea. But if you just look up hashtag vegan food on Instagram or something like that, you'll see we eating the craziest food you never believe. Huge burgers, like you wouldn't even know. People, if they get fed a vegan burger, a vegan meat burger, that they don't know. I've done this. I made videos of this myself. Hey, try this. Yeah, it's vegan. They're like, no way, that's vegan. I can't believe that's vegan. So, that's where we're at right now. And like to still be choosing the flesh of a tortured animal when we have that there, people just gotta do it. Just try it and just see and be like, oh yeah, no, they're right. We should do this. And you don't mean have to go vegan overnight. It'd be great if you did. That's obviously the best thing you could do. But if you don't feel like you can, what can you do? Maybe you can stop having dairy this week and you can try soy or almond or rice or coconut or hazelnut milk instead. Maybe instead of having scrambled eggs, you'll have scrambled tofu or just try it for the first time ever. Maybe you'll make a deal that for this month, every Monday, I'm going to be vegan. Or maybe you'll go vegetarian for a while. Like, just choose a thing. Chip away at it if that feels easier for you, which it probably does to most people who are busy. And try to keep going. And if you take a step back, it's all good. People don't always quit smoking the first time they want to quit smoking. It can be challenging. So just don't be too hard on yourself. Don't think this isn't for me. It is for you. Whoever you are, human being, watching this, listening to this, this is for you. This is what your body is designed to do. This is what you already believe in, because everybody believes in the vegan ethic. Don't cause unnecessary cruelty to animals. So you're already vegan at heart, everybody. You're just not living that way. You just got to align a few little actions with those values and you'll be a better version of yourself. I'm not saying vegan's are better. I'm just saying, like, factually, you will feel like a better version of yourself because you will know, you'll sit down to every meal with enjoyment, knowing, man, this is vegan. This is not like before. This is not a plate of cruelty. This is a plate of compassion. And as one of my favorite authors said, Dr. Will Tuttle, who wrote The World Peace Diet, which is a phenomenal book. If you're only going to read one book on veganism, this should be the one. It's also an audio book, The World Peace Diet. My favorite quotes by him, he said, there's simply no way to overstate the magnitude of the positive spiritual benefit that we would have if we switch from foods of cruelty and cruelty and oppression to foods of compassion and kindness. There's no way to overstate the spiritual benefit. And so true. You are a different person when you're vegan. You're vibing differently. Animals respond. Like, I don't want to get too weird about it. Maybe animals won't respond to you differently, but you will feel differently towards them. You'll feel differently every single time you put a bit of food in your mouth. Every day you wake up, you just know, I'm doing better than I used to do, and quite significantly. And if everybody just did what I was doing, whoa, that would be a massive, massive positive benefit for this world. I'm going to try to inspire as many people as possible on my journey.
James, you are an inspiration. Thank you for spreading your message. Thank you for being you. Thank you for your evolution and for sharing that with all of us and for being on the show today.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. It is very close to my heart, as it is yours. You are doing an amazing job rounding up people like me and inspiring the audience. And to your audience, I just want to say peace and love and all the best to you all. I hope that you make some steps on your journey. I hope that you're vegan very soon and reaping all the benefits that you deserve.
Amen.
Amen. Preach.
Hey.